Hi everybody, welcome to the Finance This Property That podcast. My name is Dion Fernandez and I am a mortgage planner and finance professional. My goal is to empower financial legacies for generations, and I look to do this by using my over 13 years experience in finance and having special guest speakers like financial planners, accountants, buyer's agents, family lawyers who are experts in their field to provide knowledge and free education. And without further ado, let's get into our episode today. I have a different guest today. So this episode is really tailored to you if you are self-employed, you're a business owner who's ever been told no by a lender. This episode's for you. Today, I'm joined by Paul Farmer from Mentorus Group. He's a no BS business strategist who works with founders to cut through the noise, rebuild their business models, and get them moving forward. We were talking about today why good businesses still get stuck with borrowing, why I don't know my numbers is actually killing your finance options, and how your business strategy and finance strategy actually need to work together if you want to grow, invest, and actually take money off the table. Let's get into it. So today's episode, we're going to cover off why good businesses still get stuck with borrowing. 3 questions that we're looking at covering today. Why self-employed businesses often get profitable. They look profitable on paper, but still get knocked back by the bank. What are some of the biggest blind spots that business owners face or stop them from being borrow ready? And what actually happens when you align your strategy, align your structure, and when it's not aligned, what happens? And when it is aligned, the beauty of reality. Sound good, Paul?
Yeah.
Awesome. Before we get into all that, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, just like everyone else, and you probably run your own business too.
Thanks for having me. It's when we initially chatted, it was I have this thing that I love sharing. And so I grew up in a small business family. My dad was a pharmacist in a rural area, and he helped people. And so growing up in that environment, it was always about how can I help others? And part of what we do is often small businesses, larger businesses don't get an opportunity to be able to get help because they feel like they have to do it all themselves. I've got to have all the answers. If I don't have the answers, then I've got to admit that I don't have all the answers, but then I've got to go looking for them, and then I have to challenge whether I have all the answers and why don't I?
And then they feel like failures for asking.
100%. And so again, there's an element of I should know this. I started a business. I should know all of this, which is rubbish.
Yeah. Rather than looking at it as like a journey of lots of mistakes for one great outcome.
Yeah. Well, the big thing that shows up is the question of 2 questions. One is what is growth? Because it changes over time, as you will have seen in your space.
Yeah.
And then also 2, I don't know. When I don't know comes up, that whole question of you know what you know what you don't know. But that element of you're about to make a decision, you go, I don't know what I should do. Or I don't know what my borrowing capacity could be. I don't know what I can do to influence it. So when that comes up and you're a business owner, who do you speak to?
Yeah.
Is it your accountant? Is it your lawyer? Is it your finance broker? Who is it? Because often, historically, it's been your accountant. But at the moment, the amount of accountants that are that busy with compliance, they don't have the opportunity to be able to have the conversation around what is it or what's the impact on my business that this decision may have, and is it going to take me in a direction that I actually want to go?
Yeah.
Or is it a decision that I think everyone else thinks I should take and go in a direction that other people think I should go in? So why? It's your business.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not it's who, like you just said, who, not how.
Yeah, totally.
That is next step. So, so that's a great segue into what is Mentorus Group? What do you do? And how do you plug the gap?
Oh, we're the enigma. So we sit in a space where we sit with business owners and we deliberately work with business owners to help them be able to understand their business, because most of the time we come across business owners, they're good at what they do. They might be great plumbers, they might be great builders, they might be great electricians, they might be great accountants, they might be great lawyers, and they know how to do the technical side of their business, but ask them about being a business owner and ask them about running a business, and it's kind of like a foreign language. Yep, I started my business because I was good at building. And then I got to a point where I started to employ people and I started to do less building, and then I had to do more running a business, and it's like, well, I don't really enjoy that, so I'll just go back on the tools. And all of a sudden, you have a technician doing technical things, but there's this business that needs to run. And when you neglect that side of it, that's the thing that comes back to bite most people, because that's where we don't invoice on time, we don't collect money on time, and the whole element of business revolves around people and cash. Not too much more complex than that.
Yep.
There's a lot of complexity, but that there tends to be the essence of business, which is how do you manage people, or how do you influence people inside your business, outside your business, but then also how do you manage the flow of cash inside your business, outside your business.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a simple bloke, and if I can keep it simple, it increases the chances of others being able to take the action they need to be able to get the results that they want.
Yep.
If it's complex, and you would see it, if it's complex, it's like, you know what, too hard. No, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It's easier, not getting the results I want, but it's easier to do what I'm doing because I know what's going to turn up, as opposed to I want to do something different, but that I don't know what might or might not turn up.
Yep. Or I think, so I find with a lot of business owners as well, they're good at one thing, but they see someone else do something else and they go, I should do that because I think I've got the skill set. And it's almost as if they're chasing the lady in the red dress.
Yeah.
And it's like,
totally.
well, should you, whereas like, I don't think I'm doing this much. I think I'm bored here, but you're just doing it the same way. If you did the same thing, but a little bit differently,
Yeah.
maybe, a couple of changes, like hire a staff member to do the things you don't want to do so you can actually do the things you want to do. I'm in not in a similar position, but at the moment, obviously my business is growing and I've got to a point where I need to hire someone that is a very high skilled at their job. They're not necessarily like the customer service side of it, but they do have the customers, but they have the technical knowledge to break down self-employed financials, understand commercial lending and all the structures that come into that. Now, there's a lot that they won't know, which I can fill in the gaps and teach, but I enjoy teaching too.
Yeah.
I love, this is why I do the podcast, like educating people and doing that. But it's such a small part of my job. But I enjoy empowering financial legacies for generations. And I believe that that's more than just my clients. It goes to staff and also helping people that come on this show too, because empowering them to grow their business and get their business out there as well. But without detracting from what I really do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it adds to it.
Yes, it adds. It adds to the credibility of what I do because I've got a team.
True.
Yeah.
But what do people buy? They don't buy the logic of business.
No.
Yep. People don't start businesses so they can spend all their time building houses or doing accounting or whatever. Generally a business it's a means to create opportunities to do more outside of the business. Spend time with the family, build a portfolio of investments, whether it be property or shares or whatever, to create an opportunity to have passive income, which reduces the reliance on the business to be able to then at some point hopefully build a business they can sell, which then means that they've already got a separate passive income. That means that if the business isn't there, then they have something that they don't have to go out and do something else again. They can start to build that. But most of the time when the business is clunky, the business isn't working, people are in a space that's the center of their universe. But a lot of the time it is because it's generating the borrowing capacity that we'll talk about, but it's generating that, and it's the thing that spits out the cash to allow them to do what it is that they want to do outside the business. But it's not the business that they're after. It's the feeling they get from having what it is that the business creates, which is more time, freedom, whatever, outside of the business.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I see, that we get wrapped up in everything's about the business. Well, the business is purely a vehicle to create what it is you really want, which is time with the family, an investment portfolio, whatever it is. That's the purpose of a business. Isn't so you can spend more time in the business. It's so you can build something that creates an opportunity to do more outside of it.
Yeah. So I get a lot of 95% of my clients are self-employed, and they will come to me and they've always say, oh, look, bank's never going to lend me any money, but I earn all this money. So in your experience, like I know the reasons why on paper they don't look at it, like looking at it on paper, they can't borrow conventionally. But why do you think that some business owners or people that are self-employed struggle to lend money?
It's interesting. There's a couple of things that come up for me. One is money is a funny thing that people deal with. Their perception of money, their perception of what it means, their perception of debt, their perception of, some people have a fear around running out of it. Some people have a fear about, if I say yes to this, then I've got to spend 50 grand. But the context is would you spend 50 to get 200 any day of the week? But I have to spend 50 and I don't have 50. So there's a context around money that people think about in a way that if I spend 50 and I lose it, well, then people are going to look at me and go, well, you lost 50 grand. That sucks. Or that's not good business, or that's not. So there can be an element of, I'll say, stigma around money, having it, making it, not making it, losing it, whatever, to an external. But that's if you care about what other people think. Let's be honest. If you're in a space, you have a business or you are looking to borrow, then your job is to be able to look as good as possible for those who are looking to give you the money, because they're all about risk. And if you're in a space where you are Captain Risky, which some people can run their business in a way that's not highly structured and it's not highly consistent and it's all over the shop, then you know what? If you run it in a way where you are loose, then those that are potentially looking at giving you money, they're going to look at it and go, gee, he's a bit loose. He's running his business in a way that doesn't give us the certainty that where we give you the money, we're going to get it back plus extra.
Or you have the propensity to be consistent, because if you're going up and down with your sales and net profit and all that sort of stuff.
But you can go up and down if there are reasons for you going up and down. And it may be you've got a cyclical business. For example, a air conditioning, heating and cooling. Air conditioning in the middle of winter. Who's looking at getting air conditioning done? In the middle of summer, when we've got sweat dripping down the back of your legs, it's like, oh, yeah, we need air conditioning. Let's get onto it. So there are businesses that are cyclical. But you're right. If I've got money and I want to lend that to someone, am I going to be more likely to lend them cash or more cash if I look at it and go, is there certainty around my investment in them? If the answer is yes, cool. If the answer is no, then I'm either going to ask for a higher risk premium, or I'm going to consider whether I would lend to that person or not. And if we're in a space where we have a business and we're looking to get money, and we've got to be conscious of our borrowing capacity, which is influenced by the way the business operates and the certainty that we give those that are looking to lend to us.
Makes sense. And yeah, it's like lending's all about assessing risk.
Well,
And
let's be honest.
Yeah.
If you've got $100 in your pocket and you've got mates who you know, if you give them $100, you're going to get the $100 back. You probably sit there and go, "Cool, I'll give you the $100." But then you've got other mates, and we've all got them. The other mate, you give him $100, you're never going to see it. Then you're going to sit there. Well, if that $100 matters to me, then am I more likely to give it to someone where there's certainty around getting it back, or am I going to give it to Captain Risky?
Yeah.
I give it to Captain Risky, fine. I might get none of it back, or he might give me $300 back. That then becomes, what do I see as being a good investment for me and my $100?
Yeah. Do you feel that there could be a breakdown of communication between business owners and, let's say, their accountants when preparing financials? Because there's two types of financials, I feel. There's one to minimize tax and there's one to lend.
Yeah, totally.
And you either can do one or the other, or you can find the blend of both, but you can't complain.
True.
Yeah, you can't complain about one or the other if you want to lend. I don't know. My accountant and I have a very solid tax planning session every year, and also we keep communication up because we want to make sure that, I said, I think I might buy next year. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing, and I think that's important to understand. But how many people don't? How many business owners do you think don't have that conversation, or let the accountant run the show?
So, as a disclaimer, I am an accountant.
Yeah.
I don't practice accounting, but I use accounting in the way that we look at numbers and businesses and understand what influences it from a financial perspective. But what I see is the amount of business owners that rely solely on getting advice from their accountant. Most, and I'll be honest, most I see don't fully understand that it's their business, not their accountants, and their role is to own everything that happens in their business. And a lot of the conversations we have is helping them understand their business, understanding financials, understanding what it is that borrowing capacity means, understanding how to influence it, and understanding what it means to be able to then go back to their accountant and say, okay, well, in 12 months' time, we're going to look to buy a commercial property. Yep. What is it that the lenders are going to want to see? They're going to want to see our financials in a way that it looks the most appropriate for a lender to see. Now, if that means that we have to look at managing the accounting side of our numbers in a way to be able to identify and increase borrowing capacity, then that's a conversation that they should have with their accountant. At the same time, on the flip side, accountants should have a conversation with their clients around, right, over the next 12 months, 18 months, what is it that you're looking to do in your business? Are you looking to borrow at all over the next couple of years? Well, we're looking to do this, or we're looking to get a commercial property or whatever. Right, well, what is it that is going to be needed? Because historically, accountants tend to look historically. They look at what's happened or what may happen. We look at the next 12 to 18 months and go, what are the conversations now that you need to start having? Because in 18 months, 2 years, you want to buy property or you want to buy this. What is it you're going to need in 2 years, starting from today? What are the conversations you need to have? And go back to your accountant and feel comfortable asking them and saying, well, we're going to, in 2 years' time, we're going to look at borrowing a property. To buy a property, what is it that we need to start doing now to make that happen? Because accountants tend to focus on compliance and doing what has happened, whereas the conversations about borrowing capacity, they start 12, 18 months, 2 years out from when they're looking to borrow, because of the fact that lenders need to see a certain amount of consistency in the ability to be able to fund the repayments, etc.
Yeah, maintain your business, maintain the level. Yes, you're allowed to have a bad year.
Of course you are.
COVID, everyone almost had a bad year.
Yeah.
But there's got to be mitigants for it. Some people can, I see clients that have, let's call it sales of 500,000 in 1 year and a net profit of 300. Let's run some numbers. Next year, they'll have sales of 800, but the net profit is 200. There's a reason for that, because you can look through all the expenses and where they're looking at it. And I guess that's where someone like yourself comes in and goes, well, hang on, is that the most optimum way of running your business as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's, I think what we call, like looking at it going, there are some blind spots that businesses face. And I think spending money is spending money where it's not required, or not understanding where you need to spend the money is big.
But also what you're getting for what you're spending. There's an element of, are we aware of what we're getting from what we're spending? And again, I'll be honest, from an accounting perspective, generally what happens is you sit there and go, as soon as things get tight, cut costs. You got to stop spending. You've got to stop whatever. So for us, it's less about cutting, but it's more about being in a space where we focus on what's the value we're getting from what we're spending. Yep. If you're spending 10 grand in a certain spot and it's not adding value, then you go, well, what am I getting from that 10 grand? Or if I'm spending 10 grand and I'm getting 60, if I was to use the lens of just cut that cost, then potentially, yes, I save 10, but I'm also giving up 60. Yep. So the easiest thing to do is to cut straight up. But often it's about what's the value you're getting from spending that. If you keep spending that 10, you keep getting the 60. So there's an element of understanding. It's like, what's impacting the profitability of your business? And a lot of the time, that is not something that people are educated on. That's the understanding piece of, let's look at your numbers, what's turning up, what's influencing it, and how do we help them influence what's influencing the profit in their business. And it may not be a financial thing. It might be saying yes to certain types of clients.
Yeah.
Because if you say, and I had this recently, someone said yes to a particular client, and I said, well, why? Why did you say yes to them? Well, they're going to send us a bucket load of work. I said, but do you know if that work's profitable? Well, it doesn't matter. We're getting a bucket load of work from them. I said, well, you can do a heap of work, but if you're not making any money, what's the point? Is there a point to it? Is there a reason for why you'd say yes? We need to, because we don't have a pipeline of work. Okay, well, what's the conversation to be able to try and add profitability into that type of work? Yep.
And saying yes to everything will actually cause you to miss out on the opportunities that you actually should be saying yes to.
Bingo.
Yeah, because you're actually, listening to someone like Alex Hormozy, it's around the fact that you'll actually be better off. You're better off saying no to deals that you shouldn't be doing and focusing more on the deals you should be doing, or the clients you should be meeting to build your business up. And ultimately, having the right clients will actually give you a lot more long-term profitability, potentially more long-term profitability, make the numbers look a lot better and smoother. And like you said, you spend 10 grand on that, you're getting 60, you're up 50.
Of course you are.
It's 50,000 profit.
Yeah. But if you say yes to a client, and again, our business is, we create everything in our business. So if you're sitting there going, oh, I've got so many rubbish clients, why do they keep turning up? Well, they keep turning up because you keep saying yes to them. If we were to manage clients, we call it having the adult conversation. Up front, this is what we do. This is how we do it. If that doesn't fit with you, that's okay. We're not meant to work with everyone. But if we manage the expectation of customers before we choose to say yes to them, then generally most businesses have a set capacity. Yep. If we say yes to someone that isn't a profitable client or good to work with, or they don't refer us openly, then we're choosing to use part of the capacity for that for that client. But if we said no to them, then that capacity opens up, and you can then use that to say yes to an A-class client.
Or to a referral from another client.
Or a
because
referral.
Because you know that if it's a referral from another client, 80-90% of the time it's actually going to be worth your while because they're in a similar situation. You normally, I always say to clients, I really like working with you. And because I enjoy working with you, do you know anyone like yourself that would want to work with me? And that's the best referral because costs you nothing.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. It's ideal. And we look at that same conversation slightly differently. It's like, what's the experience you're having working with us? And generally they go, oh, yeah, it's bang on, top shelf. And you say, well, if you know anyone else that would like that experience and that feeling of what they get from that you're getting, let them know.
Don't keep me a secret.
No, tell the world. Yeah. If there's something that's not working, tell us directly.
Yeah.
If there's something that's working and you want other people to know, tell everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once you understand what your my business coach calls it, well, what's your niche? Everyone does lending. What are you actually good at?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It is actually hard to find your niche, and because there's so many things within my own niche that I could go and do. And I want to help people. And sometimes I do say yes to the wrong type of client. But I know that I've also got other people in my team that are probably better at, let's say, first home buyers that want a grant. I'm probably not the best person to speak to, but I've got Luke. He's a gun. I know I've got the utmost confidence. You'll get the same experience with Luke as you would with me. But I still have the conversation, build a relationship, and then talk it through. But I'd rather spend 15, 20 minutes rather than 4, 5, 6 hours trying to find something that, whereas a self-employed client can do in 30 minutes.
Totally. And that's the thing that I find is often there is an aversion to having that conversation up front about, are we suited? Are we the right person for you? Because often there might be a no at the end of it. But for us, we'd rather know that up front.
Yeah.
And if we're not the right person, or we're not suited, and if they're not suited for us, then we just want to be open and honest and upfront and go, you know what? Do you feel like this is something that is going to work? If the answer is no, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to do what so many others do, jump in, sign people up to a 12-month agreement, and then after 3 months, they're sitting there going, I'm getting no value from this. This is just, I'm paying, $3,000 a month and I'm getting what? No, nothing. And it's just not working. What do I do? Well, because we didn't have the conversation up front, I'm just burning a relationship. And then that's going to hurt who? It'll be me, because I'm the one that hasn't delivered an expectation, but we didn't set the expectation.
Yeah.
So that upfront conversation is like, let's have a chat. Is it something that is going to be mutually beneficial? If the answer is no, that's okay. Yeah.
Yep. And that's 100%, that's even in my sort of, I just want to understand when someone books a time with me, I just want to understand what your goals are.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about you, your goals, your current situation, because I want to know how best I can support you in the journey / am I the right person?
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you 30 minutes of your time, but it'll give you very good direction. It gives me direction too, and we can decide. You get to decide what you want to do.
Oh, for the sake of 30 minutes?
Yeah.
The interesting thing is when you don't have that upfront conversation and people sign on and they don't get what they thought they were going to get, then that 30 minutes looks very cheap and very short, because then you go, oh, well, now we've got to unwind all of this. We've got to stop working with you, and then we're going to find someone else, and this is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
As opposed to, let's just have 30 minutes to see whether it's going to be something that's going to work for you, work for us. If not, that's okay. I may have someone I know that's going to be more appropriate.
Yeah. Correct. And that's the power of having a big network of
Totally.
people as well, and having the right people in the right places. Because I think, like I see it all the time. It's people think they're doing well, and on paper they look great. I guess for me is, when I see that, like I never had a solution till I sort of met you to just say, hey, when was the last time you actually reviewed how your business is performing outside of your accountant? What do you see when, I guess, the strategy of what the business is looking to do, i.e. grow, scale, buy property, invest, diversify, that's what they're looking to do, but their structure's not set up, and then obviously the financials don't align up. How do you get in there? Like, what's the type of conversation you have to help fix, and what does the journey look like?
I chuckle because I love that space.
Yeah.
It's messy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's messy, but a lot of the time it's not about whether they have the ability to understand it or not. It's just the fact that they've never been in a space to have to understand it. So for us, we sit, and one of the biggest questions we ask all business owners is, what is growth? What does growth mean to you? So our starting point is sitting with a business owner, going, right, tell us about what you want this thing to be in 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. Let's start with that, because then we can work out what alignment there is to what it is that they're going to need from an investment perspective, from a borrowing perspective. What is it that in 2 years that their business is going to look like? Whether it happens or not is irrelevant. What do you want this thing to be in 2 years? We then sit there, look at it. We generally say 12 months because a lot happens within 12 months now compared to 5 years ago, where it was a little more stable pre-COVID.
Yep.
Now there's a little more uncertainty. So people are in a space where we look at 12 months, say, right, in 12 months' time, tell us about the business that you want. Cool. Let's step back and say, right, you're now here. You want to be there. What needs to happen? But that business you want in 12 months, what does it need to have to allow it to be what you want it to be? And that will involve funding. It'll involve team. It'll involve financial profitability. It'll involve clients. It'll involve workflow. We look at a lot of those areas and be able to say, right, well, in 12 months, this is what it looks like. Let's look at what it is that you need to do to be able to make that happen. And at this point in time, they don't have to be aligned with what they want in 12 months. They've just got to be aware, and we help them become aware of what they will be able to influence to make that happen. So we look at clients, for example, and say, okay, well, let's look at the client base you want in 12 months. Well, let's look at where you are now. What is it you can do to be able to attract more in a certain space or less in a certain space? We're not marketing experts. That's why we have a circle of trust around us to be able to tap into marketing experts or funding experts or people, accounting and legal experts. Yep, insurance brokers. We're not experts in all of those areas, but we help the business owners create a picture of what they want. And then go, right, who do you need in your space to be able to make it happen? And B, why does having that business in a year or 2 years, why does that actually matter? Because do you have the energy, the resources, the time, and what it's going to take, and are you prepared to be who you need to be to make that thing happen? If the answer is no, then you're setting yourself up to fail, because obviously there's something else, there's an ego there that's driving you to go, I've got bigger is better. Well, what's to say bigger is better? I'll give you an example. There's a business said, I want to add 10 trucks to my business. Why? Well, because it'll give us all this turnover and this, and this. And I said, well, I'll be honest, your family hates you at the moment because you spend so much time in your business. I said, how's adding 10 more trucks going to allow them to love you more? Because I said, I'm guessing that's kind of what you're doing it all for. And he said, well, I'd lost sight of that. The only way to grow is to do more, isn't it? And I said, well, what if you could add 5% profitability to your business on a $10 million business? That's 500 grand. I said, don't do any more. Just work out how you can add 5% profitability to your business. And with 500 grand, what could you do? Well, I could employ someone for 100 and have 3-day weekends every weekend. I said, well, do you reckon that's more valuable than adding 10 trucks to your business? And he went, actually, yeah. So why don't we do that? But unless he'd got clear on what growth meant to him, he was only ever going to be, I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more.
Yeah, I think two key points around what growth is, what growth means to him, but what is actually important to him.
Yeah.
You know, you can, and this is so many business owners lose, you know, we've had this conversation last week, lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And yeah, hate to think of the statistics of marriage breakups and things like that because people weren't present.
What happens is people get, and I had this conversation just earlier, what happens is most get wrapped up in managing the downside, the challenges, what's coming at them, and lose sight of the potential upside in the business, the growth opportunity. So, for example, let's take make it relevant. Let's take a funding space. A lot of people sit there and go, it's going to cost me this. All you're doing is focusing on the downside. But if you don't run your business in a way that churns out more cash, which increases your borrowing capacity, then you're going to have a limited borrowing capacity.
Yep.
But if you only focus on how much it's going to cost you, you lose sight of the fact that if you have a warehouse, that means that your team of 8 can meet somewhere, you can have all your stock there, you can have all your meetings there, you can have an office space there, you can do all of that. Yes, it's going to cost you 50 grand a year, but what's the potential upside? You've got a team that are connected, you've got all your inventories in the same place, everyone comes back there once a week for a toolbox meeting. You look at the potential upside, but if you only ever focus on the downside, you're going to manage the cost of it because it's a cost.
Yep.
But if you treat it as an investment, then you spend 50, you might get 100 grand's worth of extra productivity out of the team. Again, would you spend 50 to get 100 any day of the week?
Yep. And that's you do lose sight because you only focus on the bad, except for the one, you focus on the 1% that's bad, but you forget about the 99% that's actually good.
Yeah.
And, you lose sight of your loving family, your friends, you lose the relationship, and then ultimately you lose yourself.
You choose to.
Yeah, you choose. Yeah,
that's
right,
the thing.
Yeah.
We always have choice. We may not like the choices that we have in front of us, and often what we do is we just add a couple of extra options into a space that people may not consider. But that element is we always have a choice on what we do.
Yep.
We choose to say yes to a client. What shows up, if they turn out to be a rubbish client, then we can't blame the client because we said yes to them.
Yep, and you didn't question them hard enough.
That's right. Or we didn't manage the expectation. Or, we make it relevant from a borrowing capacity. The business that we have, it is the thing that often for sole business owners, it's the thing that determines the borrowing capacity. So do we choose to focus on it in a way that we are looking to make it as attractive as possible to allow lenders to say, hey, here is the money that you want. Yep. Or, and I use the example, so if we can help the machine churn out more cash, then accountants will have more to deal with because they will need more businesses, or they will need to tax plan more profit. Financial planners will have more to plan with. They can bring forward retirement dates, bring forward exits in businesses. Right? Why wait 15 years to sell a business? What if I can sell it in 10? Well, how do you do that? Well, you have a business that's churning out more cash. Means that you don't have to wait 15 years to retire. You can retire in 10.
You just need to plan for it.
You just need to plan for it. But what generally is the thing that allows these things to be brought forward or borrowing capacities to be increased? The business. But who focuses on the business? I was in a room of 160 people in Melbourne, and they're all finance or property focused people. And I just happened to be the only person who wasn't a property focused person. I stood up and I said, now, everyone's been talking about borrowing capacity today. I said, who influences the borrowing capacity of the people that you're trying to get finance for? I said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you've got an engine churning out more cash, surely they can borrow more cash. You then have more to be able to lend to them, and everyone in this room benefits because they're buying bigger properties, more properties, multiple properties, whatever. I said, but without the increased borrowing capacity or the ability to fund more, they're capped.
Yep.
So they don't buy the extra property. They don't buy the bigger property. They don't buy the warehouse. They don't buy all that stuff. They can't. But who helps them increase their borrowing capacity? And by helping the business become more efficient and more profitable, then the accountant benefits, the lawyer benefits, the insurance broker benefits, the funding specialists benefit. Everyone benefits, but who helps the businesses be more efficient? None of the advisors, because they're too focused on doing what it is that they do, which is essential to make businesses more efficient. But that element of going back to what is growth, well, the accountant wants to know what growth is from the accounting perspective. The lawyer wants to know from the legal perspective. The funding specialist wants to know from their perspective, but not from a holistic whole of business perspective.
Yeah. And also, I think you were telling me a story about one of your clients that got told by an accountant that, you need to grow, you need to do this, you need to go advertise more to grow the.
Just go and do more.
Just go do more.
Yeah, but more doesn't.
Yeah,
more doesn't mean better.
Yep, and without actually understanding the why behind what they're doing, and I think that's important because you've got your team behind you, and there's certain clients that are very complex that I work with, the accountant, financial planner, buyer's agent, myself, obviously with the finance strategy, and the client to make sure that it all aligns up, and we all sit there and talk about, well, what's the alignment with the accountant? The financial planner then pops. They go, oh no, we can't do that because we need to do this. And then I can say, well, we can't do that and that because we need the financials to look like this because you're in the growth and acquisition phase.
Yeah.
You want to acquire more properties, do this. And the buyer's agent's like, well, I'm on the finance side because if I want to find quality assets, it needs to look like this. So you're going to have some but not a lot. I always am very collaborative with the key interested parties.
But just imagine
put the client in the middle.
But just imagine what would happen if you weren't speaking to each other. What sort of carnage shows up then? It's like and again this morning is like you go to each of those professionals you mentioned. They'll draw, and I use the example of drawing a picture of a cat that represents their view of the business. All of a sudden, you've got a business owner that has 8, 9, 10 different advisors telling them what their business should be. But who do they listen to? Do they go to, it's the funding specialist or it's the accountant, or it's the graphic designer, or it's the insurance broker, whatever. The business owner is sitting there going, I've got 8, 9 specialists telling me what I need to do. But if they're not talking to each other, then how does the business owner understand who is making the most sense? But what if they're all talking to each other? Then they can come up with a plan to help the business owner go, well, we've got the accountant involved, the financial planner, we've had these conversations. This is what we feel is going to be the most appropriate to allow you to do it in a tax efficient way, to be legally sound, in the right structuring, and to be able to do this, 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 and this. Yep. And where the advisors don't talk to each other, that's when you have to deal with things retrospectively. And you go, well, if you'd have come to me before you were deciding to buy that whatever, we could have had this conversation.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
And it costs you more money.
Yeah. And so having the higher level strategy of where the business is going then allows that to be taken to the accountant, the lawyer, the funding specialist to go, well, over the next 12 months, this is the business that we're looking to create. What is it that we need to do from a funding space? What is it from an insurance space? What is it from an accounting space? What is it from a legal space? What is it that we need to be able to make this possible?
And I think that's the key, like the collaboration piece is
Yeah.
a lot missing. Like I'm doing a lot of, a couple of my clients that are self-employed, we need to restructure or borrow more debt, but they haven't done the financials for 2025, but they're saying 25 is better than 24, doesn't work on 24. We need 25s. Well, I'm getting involved in the tax planning because I'm like, well, hang on, they've come to me and said they need financials to borrow.
Yep.
And I've said to my clients, well, you can't have financials for tax minimization if you want to borrow because it just won't look good. But I know the money's there.
Yeah.
But I need to be able to prove it.
Bingo. And so again, what's your priority? Is your priority tax minimization? Which if everyone's in a space to be able to manage their affairs in a way that suits them. But if you're looking to borrow, then the capacity that you're able to get is based on what someone who has money, who wants to give you money, is prepared to give you based on the risk that they see from what it is that you show them through your financials.
Correct.
It's the whole trust me.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like. Yeah?
Exactly. And it's you just see it in so many different businesses as well. And that's one of the first things. If you're self-employed, you need to connect me with your accountant.
Yep.
Like,
yep. And if you have to go looking for their details,
yeah.
or who they are, or how often you see them, then obviously there's a question around, are they relevant for you?
Well, even to the point where I look at it and go, well, I can save you some time. You go work on your business. If you do an email introduction, I'll deal with your accountant. You'll be CC'd in on everything.
Yeah.
So you know what's happening. But I'll just take that off your plate, or my team will take it off your plate. It just works a lot better. And I can tell you categorically, it's when they don't do the introduction, where things just timeframes blow out, opportunity costs blow out. Just doesn't work. But when it's working in harmony.
But let's go back to the conversation we had earlier, which was about managing the expectation up front. So by having that email introduction to their accountant, you're able to manage that relationship up front.
Yeah.
If you don't, and you've just given the exact example of where you don't have that connection up front, where you don't manage the expectation, you get what they're prepared to give you.
Yeah. And it's usually the wrong information.
Well, that's right. And as I say, there's this thing, it's like if you want people to go on a journey, you've got to take them on the journey you want them to go on. Otherwise, they'll take you on theirs. And that could end up anywhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
You have no control over it. So you either go to them early and go, right, let's have a conversation about what it is that we need to do. This is what we need. Do you see any challenges in that? Or these are the timelines. Do you see there's going to be an issue with us getting information quickly, regularly, or whatever?
Yep.
If the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, well, tell us about that. Then we can work out what it's going to look like and how to manage the expectation. Otherwise, we get what they give us when they want to give us. It's like going and you go to someone and you have an expectation of timeline, but they sit there and they go, well, we don't know. We'll give it to you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, but hang on, this needs to be done in 3. Oh yeah, but we don't see that as a priority. All of a sudden you're going to be misaligned.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that conversation or you don't understand the expectation of timing, if that's relevant for you but not for them, are you aligned? No. So what's going to turn? They're going to send it to you whenever they want.
Correct. And that, yeah, it is, how important is this and how motivated are you to do it?
Yeah. And if you don't have the conversation up front, it's just like when you choose to say yes to a client. If you don't manage the expectation up front, it'll only ever be on their time frame, their way of doing it, their pricing, and they're taking you on their journey, not you taking them on your journey.
And you've lost you're the authority on your specialty. So
yeah.
What I sort of I just had a thought in my head as well. What what are the types, like what is your sort of ideal client that you like to deal with? Or we talked about saying yes to the right people. Who do you say yes to?
We have two rules in our business. One is we only work with good people. Yep. Rule number one. Rule number two, see rule number one.
Yep.
So, as Tom Brady didn't say, but I say that he said, life's too short to eat shit pizza. You know what? We want to work with good people. We want to work with people that are going to change, are prepared to change, and are going to do what it is to be able to create a business that they want. If people aren't prepared to take action, that's okay. But it's going to be them staying in their space, doing what they're doing and getting what they're getting. So if we look at size of business, we work with all sizes of businesses. What we do with businesses varies based on the size. So smaller businesses will be an ad hoc conversation with them to help them get on track, and then they'll work through that on themselves. Businesses that are in that $2 million plus space, we'll then generally look at working with them ongoing because the investment for us is about helping them ensure that the investment is appropriate for the size of the business that they are.
Because that's really the scaling tipping point, isn't it?
That's right.
Over that 1.5, 2 million mark.
That's right. And so we're in a space to be able to say, and we're different to a lot of other business coaches, business advisors, etc. We're in a space where we aim to be in and out within 6 months. So our job is to give the business owners everything they need to be able to do it themselves within 6 months. And at 6 months, give them the choice of whether they choose to have us involved with them ongoing or not. That's their choice because we want them to take ownership for everything in their business. And so they choose to have us involved. Some at that point, they go, right, well, each 3 months, we'd like to be able to have a check-in and whatever. Others go into an ad hoc basis where they say, right, well, at the end of 6 months, we're good, but every now and then they'll ring up and say, look, something's not working. Can we grab some time to be able to throw this at you? Or can we be a sounding board? And they'll book in an hour, bang. And we'll just throw it on the table, kick it around, give them some more options, and then go, anything you need? No, cool, righto, away you go. So we flip the script because too many people in our space are locking people into 12-month contracts with an option, and it's focused on them adding certainty to their own business, which I get, but at the same time, it's often people don't need 12-month commitments. They need to fix things in 3, so then they have 9 months to benefit from fixing things in 3. So it's 3 months, 6 months, whatever. Our job is to get them running without us as quickly as possible so they can do it themselves.
Yep.
If they choose to have us in their space, that's their choice, and we continue to add value, and we're there as long as we're adding value. If we're not adding value, then that's okay, but we want them to be able to do it themselves.
Yep.
So the whole, we don't become the barnacle on the bottom of the boat. We help people do what they need to do, and then they have the option whether we're there or not. And we're there every 3 months. We'll have a check-in. How are we doing? Are we delivering? What is it that you need going forward? And what is it that we can do? Is that us? If the answer is no, that's okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit there and go, we have to be in your business forever, because the whole point of having people come into your business is to get it to a point where you don't need them.
Yeah. You're right. In that space, there is quite a few people that just take people for a ride, and just tie you up and lock you in. But
some people want that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But other people, we found, is that they want to change quickly and be able to get things running as they want it, rather than wait until month 9 or 10 to get access to information about how to manage people.
Yeah.
Well, why would I wait 9 months to get what I need now? We just look at what the business needs, look at what they want to change quickly, and if we can be in and out within 3 months, happy days. They've got 9 months to get the benefit of growth that they may not have got if they were on a 12-month contract, getting a little bit each month for 12 months.
Yep. So if there's a small business owner or a business owner or founder, doesn't matter the size, that's listening to this right now,
Yep.
and hopefully you are, make sure you share it. I mean, like if there's some information or you know anyone in that, just share it. It doesn't cost you anything. How would they get a hold of you?
Oh, so we've got a website, mentorusgroup.com.au. We're on LinkedIn. We're on social media. We have a 20-minute discovery call, which is free. Generally, out of that, there's 2 or 3 things that will come up that will help the business owner anyway. So, there's no judgment. It's just, let's see if we're able to work together, see if we're the right people. And if not, that's okay. We'll be honest. We are direct, but as I said before, time's precious. So we want to make sure that we're the right people for those people. So generally social media, our website is the best place to start. And then we're happy to have a conversation with anyone around what they're looking for, and we'll be honest and upfront.
Yeah, I do reckon there's a few listeners that will be that this conversation will resonate. It's not my usual finance conversation or property buying conversation. But it is my conversation around be prepared. One of my biggest things, we've got to be prepared, and if you're not prepared, you won't be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, or it may cost you more to achieve it, and we'd rather do things right up front than not do it correctly. And also, we want to be sustainable. I think that's the biggest key. Sustainable growth for whatever that looks like for you is key, because it puts less stress. It unlocks the ability for you to do more. So if you know of anyone, or if anyone's listening right now that would benefit from having a conversation with Paul or myself, please reach out. I'm really easy to get a hold of. It's at Dion Finance Specialist. This podcast is available on all major streaming networks, and also the video will be on YouTube for if you want to see our pretty faces and the cool set. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Dion Fernandez. Really, really easy to find. But yeah, if you've got something out of it, share it. We only grow by sharing it with others.
Yeah, and it's perfect. And I love what you're doing, because often a complex, what can be seen as being complex, can be simple. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's simple. And if it's simple, people are often more likely to have a crack at it.
Yep.
And all I'd say is if you want to keep getting what's turning up at the moment, keep doing what you're doing, because obviously you're doing a great job. Whether you like it or not, it will keep turning up. So to use a saying, it's like nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yep.
So if you want something different, or if you want to see what may be possible, then reach out to experts and find out what's possible.
Yep. Pretty simple. Mate, look, thanks so much for your time. Really, really do appreciate it. Thanks for listening today. Just want to leave you with a few messages. So if you're sitting on a business that's working, but you're still struggling to borrow, it's not just the bank, it's not just the numbers, it's the strategy behind it all. Paul and I work with business owners who want to build something profitable, sustainable, and lendable. If you want to talk about how that might look for you, you can use the link in my bio to book a discovery call, and it'll also be in the show notes. And if you found value in this episode, share it with someone who's stuck in the same spot, or even reach out to Paul, reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with Paul if you need to. Guys, thanks for listening, and until next time, have a good one.